Some QBs and coaches are like peanut butter and chocolate, They just go together. Although, sometimes they're less complimentary and more, symbiotic. In other words, they need each other to succeed. We saw the likes of Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, John Elway, Joe Montana, Steve Young, Brett Favre, and Aaron Rodgers win with multiple head coaches. And then on the flip side, there are several notable NFL quarterbacks that could only win with one certain coach. And if it weren't for the right pairing at the right time, they simply would not have reached the success that they went on to endure. So with that said, here are 10 NFL quarterbacks that could only win with one coach. And hey, a big shout out to Lord Barros for suggesting this video. Joe Flacco, John Harbaugh. His stats with the Baltimore Ravens were never fancy, but this is the fact about Joe Flacco. He was an impressive 96-67-0 over his 11 years with the Baltimore Ravens. He was 10-5 in the postseason, leading Baltimore to 3 AFC title games and, of course, a Super Bowl 47 championship. Flacco always saved his best for the postseason, recording a 25-10 touchdown to INT ratio. In fact, only Tom Brady, with 11, has more career road playoff victories than Flacco, who has 8. Flacco, however, lost his starting job to rookie Lamar Jackson in the midst of the 2018 season after suffering a hip injury. Jackson caught fire and led Baltimore to the AFC North Division title, which ultimately ended the Flacco era in B-more. Needless to say, Flacco hasn't been anything close to a competent starting QB since leaving Baltimore. He was traded to the Denver Broncos in the 2019 season, but lost 6 of 8 starts before the Broncos turned over to Drew Lock. Flacco would serve as a New York Jets backup over the next 3 years. He went 1-8 in those games and tossed 14 touchdowns against 6 picks, while averaging well under 200 passing yards a game. Thank goodness for Harbaugh. Otherwise, Flacco wouldn't have amounted to much of anything at the NFL level. Eli Manning, Tom Coughlin. Let's be clear, Eli Manning and Tom Coughlin needed each other. The way Tom Brady and Bill Belichick needed each other. The way that Chuck Noll and Terry Staubach needed each other. The way that any great QB is better with a great head coach and vice versa. Pure and simple. Coughlin was Manning's head coach from 2004 to 2015. It was under Coughlin where Manning earned all 4 of his Pro Bowl nods. It was under Coughlin where Manning led the New York Giants to a stunning Super Bowl 42 and 46 upset wins over the mighty Patriots on both occasions. But when the Giants parted ways with Coughlin after the 2015 season, Manning's career wouldn't really be the same. Yeah, the Giants went 11-5 and made the playoffs under new head coach Ben McAdoo, but that was mostly thanks to a defense that allowed the second fewest points. So, yeah. Manning had a tough 2017 season, which resulted in McAdoo controversially benching him in favor of Geno Smith, ending Eli's consecutive start streak at 210 games. Eli went 3-12 as the starter that year. The 2018 season wasn't much better despite the arrival of Saquon Barkley. The Giants finished 5-11 on the year, prompting the front office to think long-term. They drafted Daniel Jones 6th overall in 2019, and he finished that year as the Giants' primary starting QB. Over his final 3 years, Manning had a record of 9-26, with 46 touchdowns against 29 picks. Matt Hasselbeck, Mike Holmgren. Hasselbeck spent his first 2 NFL seasons in 1999 and 2000 as a backup to Brett Favre. Ahead of the 2001 season, the Seattle Seahawks acquired Hasselbeck in a blockbuster trade, uniting him with former Packers head coach Mike Holmgren. Hasselbeck and Holmgren were one of football's top quarterback head coach combos over their 8 years together from 2001 to 2008. Hasselbeck earned 3 Pro Bowl nods and helped turn Seattle into an NFC juggernaut, leading them to a Super Bowl 40 appearance. Together, the duo led the Seahawks to 5 straight playoff berths from 2003 to 2007, but Holmgren stepped down from coaching after a miserable 2008 season that saw Seattle finish 4-12. And Hasselbeck just wasn't the same after that. Hasselbeck never threw 20 touchdowns in a season again after Holmgren's retirement. In his final 2 years with the Seahawks away from Holmgren, Hasselbeck went 11-17. Yes, Seattle upset the New Orleans Saints in the Beastquake 2010 NFC wildcard game, but that was Marshawn Lynch's doing, certainly not Hasselbeck's. Hasselbeck would spend the 2011 and 2012 season with the Tennessee Titans before playing out his final 3 years as Andrew Luck's understudy in Indianapolis. Jay Cutler, Lovie Smith. As a starting quarterback, Cutler finished with a winning record 3 times. Those all came under Lovie Smith, and in 3 consecutive years from 2010 to 2012. In his 3 years at the Broncos, Cutler went 17-20 with 54 touchdowns against 37 interceptions. Following a blockbuster trade in which the Bears swapped Kyle Orton for Cutler in 2009, the latter went on to enjoy the best football of his career. Cutler led the Bears to an NFC title game appearance in 2010, where they fell to the Green Bay Packers. He won 7-10 starts in 2011 before unfortunately suffering a season season-ending thumb injury. In 2012, Cutler won 10 of 15 starts, but the Bears missed out on the postseason via tiebreaker to the Minnesota Vikings. In a bit of a surprise move, Smith was fired after that season. Smith's firing would be the beginning of the end for Cutler as a starting caliber QB. In 2 seasons under Mark Trestman, he went 10-16 and led the league with 18 interceptions in the 2014 campaign. Cutler went 7-13 before mercilessly retiring. The season-ending injury to Ryan Tannehill in 2017 prompted the Miami Dolphins to sign Cutler and reunite him with old friend Adam Gase. Cutler had his moments there, but went 6-8 with 19 touchdowns against 14 interceptions. How much did he need Lovie to semi-succeed? 34 of Cutler's 74 wins as an NFL QB came over his 4 years playing under Smith. So, you tell us. Matt Schaub, Gary Kubiak. Schaub entered the NFL in 2004 and spent his first 3 seasons as backup to Michael Vick in Atlanta. 2007, the Falcons traded Schaub to the Houston Texans, giving Gary Kubiak and company a new long-term starting QB. After 2 meh first years in Houston, Schaub broke out under Kubiak in 2009. He led the NFL with 4,770 passing yards to go along with 29 touchdowns against 15 picks, also leading Houston to the franchise's first winning season at 9-7. In 2011, Schaub won 7-10 starts before suffering a season-ending injury, but he had done enough to help Houston secure its first division title and playoff berth. A year later, Schaub led the Texans to a franchise-best 12 wins, again surpassing 4,000 passing yards while throwing 22 touchdowns against 12 picks. Schaub had a miserable final season with Houston in 2013, however. Kubiak was fired after a 2-11 start, and the Texans cut ties with Schaub after the year. He spent the remainder of his career as a backup in Oakland, Baltimore, and Atlanta before ultimately retiring after the 2020 season. So, how much did Kubiak matter to Schaub? Well, 46 of Schaub's 47 career wins as a starting QB came under Kubiak. So, yeah, you do the math there. Jake Delhomme, John Fox. Under Delhomme and Fox, Carolina went to the postseason 3 times. They nearly upset the mighty Patriots in Super Bowl 38, and they got back to the NFC Championship game in 2005. In 2008, Carolina won the NFC South with a 12-4 record, only to get crushed by the Arizona Cardinals in the divisional round. Bottom line, the Panthers could win with Delhomme playing average. He never hit 4,000 yards passing or 30 TDs in a season. But Delhomme was practically nobody without Fox. It's as simple as that. 53 of his 56 career wins came under Fox in Carolina. Delhomme did next to nothing in his brief stints with New Orleans and Cleveland either. Also, did you know that 120 of Delhomme's 126 career passing touchdowns came with Fox as his head coach? Yeah, somebody couldn't win. That's what the Fox says.
What does the Fox say?
Ernie Kozar, Marty Schottenheimer. Many QBs enjoyed great success with Marty Schottenheimer, but perhaps none of them owed their career more to the late Schottenheimer than Mr. Kozar himself. Together, Kozar and Schottenheimer breathed new life into the Cleveland franchise and helped them to the postseason 4 straight years from 1985 to 1988. That included trips to the 1986 and 87 AFC Championship games, both heartbreaking losses to John Elway's Broncos. Kozar was a one-time Pro Bowler in 1987 who enjoyed his best seasons under Schottenheimer. After the 1988 season, Schottenheimer and the Browns agreed to part ways, though Kozar and the Browns went on to reach and lose to the Broncos in the AFC title game in 1989. His stats declined considerably that year. Kozar went 11-25 over the 1990, 91, and 92 seasons as Cleveland starter. Kozar was released in the midst of the 1993 season and joined the Dallas Cowboys, where he would win a ring as a backup to Troy Aikman. Kozar was then a backup to Dan Marino for his final 3 NFL seasons from 1994 to 96. He simply disappeared into irrelevance of NFL QBs long after Schottenheimer had left. Carson Wentz, Doug Peterson. Alright, does this one really need that much explanation? Wentz played his best football under Peterson during their 5 years together from 2016 to 2020. Wentz would have likely won 2017 MVP honors if he didn't suffer a season-ending ACL tear late in the campaign against the Los Angeles Rams. I mean, the Eagles went on to win Super Bowl 52 with Nick Foles anyway. A year later, Philly chose Wentz and parted ways with Foles, who signed with the Jacksonville Jaguars in free agency. Over the 2018 and 2019 seasons, Wentz had 48 touchdowns against just 14 interceptions. He rallied the Eagles to the NFC East Division crown despite a plethora of injuries to Philly's core offensive players in 2019. 2020 was a miserable final year together for both Wentz and Peterson. The former was benched in favor of Jalen Hurts late in the year, and the Eagles wound up firing Peterson before trading Wentz to the Indianapolis Colts in the offseason. Wentz and the Colts finished 9-8 in 2021, but a loss to the NFL worst Jaguars in Week 18 in a winner-go-home contest prompted Jim Irsay to make a change. Wentz was traded to the Washington Commanders, while the Colts made an ill-fated trade for Matt Ryan. In 7 starts for Washington in 2022, Wentz went 2-5 with 11 touchdowns against 9 picks. Realizing their mistake, the Commanders released Wentz after the season. Look, the number 2 selection of the 2016 NFL Draft won't go down as an all-time draft bust or anything. No, not even close. We can't forget his role in helping the Eagles win the franchise's first Super Bowl. But at the same time, it's obvious that Wentz was never able to succeed unless he had Peterson as his coach. Daunte Culpepper, Mike Tice. We'll acknowledge that Culpepper had an excellent first year under Dennis Green in 2000, even helping Minnesota the NFC title game that year. But the bulk of Culpepper's prime came under Mike Tice, and the former wasn't the same after Tice left. 2 of Culpepper's 3 Pro Bowl nods came under Tice. Culpepper's career year, in which he threw a league-leading 4,717 yards and 39 touchdowns in 2004, came under Tice. So after both men left Minnesota in 2006, Culpepper's career really went down the toilet. Miami infamously traded for Culpepper instead of signing Drew Brees in the offseason, and we all know how that played out. Injuries limited Culpepper to 4 games as a Dolphin. He spent the 2007 campaign with the Oakland Raiders and the 2008 and 2009 seasons with the Detroit Lions. Record after leaving Minnesota? 3-17, 14 touchdowns against 18 interceptions. Ooh, big time yikes. Ryan Tannehill, Mike Vrabel. Well, isn't this one obvious and kinda self-explanatory? Tannehill spent 6 seasons with Miami Dolphins from 2012 to 2018, missing the entire 2017 season to injury. He went 42, 46, and 0 as their starter, leading Miami to just 1 winning season and playoff berth in that span. In Miami, Tannehill never topped 27 touchdowns in a season, and as a Dolphin, his quarterback finish rating finished below 90 in 3 different seasons. Simply put, Tannehill just couldn't win with Joe Philbin or renowned QB killer Coach Adam Gase. Yet, lo and behold, Tannehill revived his career following a 2019 trade to the Titans. In Week 6, head coach Mike Vrabel got fed up with Marcus Mariota and benched him in favor of Tannehill during a shutout loss to the Broncos. All Tannehill did from there was win 7 of 10 starts while completing an astounding 70.3% of his passes for 22 touchdowns against only 6 interceptions. Tannehill won Comeback Player of the Year honors after leading Tennessee to the AFC title game, where they fell to the Kansas City Chiefs. Proving that 2019 was no fluke, Tannehill led Tennessee to back-to-back double-digit win seasons and AFC South Division crowns in 2020 and 2021. He had 54 total touchdown passes in that 2-year span. Tennessee was in the driver's seat to win the AFC South again in 2022 before Tannehill suffered a right ankle injury that sidelined him for the final 3 games. The Titans dropped their final 7 games and missed out on the postseason. Still, Tannehill's record under Vrabel in Tennessee over 4 years kinda speaks for itself. 36, 19, and 0 with 89 touchdowns, 33 picks, and 3 playoff appearances. Moral of the story, Tannehill can only win if he has Vrabel. Not that he has to apologize for it or anything. But what other NFL QBs could only win with one coach? Let us know in the comment section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton. And hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching and we'll see you guys next time.